Today, we gather at Fork Elementary School to celebrate Veterans Day and pay homage to the brave men and women who have served our nation with unwavering dedication and selflessness. May this day serve as a reminder of the courage and sacrifice exhibited by our veterans, and may it inspire each of us to express our gratitude not only through words, but through actions that reflect the values and ideals for which our nation stands. We fast approach the 11th minute of the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. This is a momentous and solemn time that holds deep significance for veterans and all those who honor their service. It is a poignant reminder of the armistice that ended World War I, a symbol of the sacrifices made by countless veterans, and a call to reflect upon their bravery and commitment to a more peaceful world. We welcome all of you to Fort Kent and the St. John Valley. Allow me the privilege to present a distinguished member of our community, a veteran whose journey began at Fort Kent Community High School in 1992. His path led him to specialize in aerospace maintenance during his dedicated service in the United States Air Force. Mr. McKenzie has been happily married to his wife Heather for 6 years, and together they are blessed with a delightful daughter named Lux. His commitment and tireless efforts on behalf of veterans in the American Legion have earned him the title of Legionnaire of the Year from the American Legion Department of Maine. Please join me in extending a warm and heartfelt welcome to Mr. Leroy McKenzie, a U.S. Air Force veteran and the second Vice Commander of the American Legion Department of Maine.
Can anybody and everybody hear me?
Yep.
If you can't, maybe slide in a little bit, cozy up, maybe get warm. I'd like to say good morning and welcome to today's Veterans Day flag raising ceremony. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Fort Kent Elementary School for allowing us to hold this ceremony here. And to all of our guests, our guest speakers, our state and local leaders, our community members, and of course the veterans that are joining us today. I'm truly honored to be speaking before you today as we are here to honor our service members and to remember their sacrifices that they have made and the courage that it takes to defend, honor, and serve the greatest country in the world. Arthur Ashe was quoted in saying, "True heroism is remarkably sober and very undramatic. It's not the urge to surpass all others at whatever the cost, but yet the urge to serve all others at whatever the cost." On this Veterans Day celebration, I'd like to thank all of our veterans for not only answering the call to duty, but for also serving our great country, no matter what the cost. This time, I'd like to thank the different organizations that are here with us today. We have the Boy Scouts, we have the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Armistice County Sheriff's Department, the Fort Kent Police Department, Fort Kent Fire Department, Customs, Border Patrol, members of the American Legion. I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody as I'm scanning through the audience, other than obviously our state and local leaders. At this time, I'd like to call forward Alfred T. McKay. He was elected as the Department of Maine Commander of the American Legion on June 10, 2023. Al was born in Damariscotta, Maine, and was raised in Edgecombe. After graduating in 1976 from Wiscasset High School, he joined the United States Air Force in 1976 and retired in 1995. Take a brief pause. He studied aircraft structural maintenance craftsman and was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base, our own Loring Air Force Base, and Kevlax, Iceland. After Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Al was stationed at Edwards Air Force Base in California. He was deployed to Saudi Arabia after returning to Edwards Air Force Base and retired a few months later. After returning to the great state of Maine, he met his future wife, Toby, and they blended into their two families. Commander McKay joined the American Legion 30 years ago and has been an active member ever since, and has held officer positions at the post, district, area, and again at the department level. He's been on various committees at the post, department, and national levels. So without further ado, please help me welcome American Legion State Commander and Air Force veteran, Al McKay.
Thank you. That's way too much you need to know about me. I'm not important. You guys are important. And can I say, they sent you to Vegas on your first time in the Air Force. You grew up in Hitchcock, Maine. We had no street lights. I went to Vegas, and then they sent me to Leroy. How can life get any better? They sent me to Iceland. And then sent me back to Vegas. Thought I was going to like that job for a while. Most Americans possess a true love for their veterans, especially at gatherings like this on Veterans and Memorial Day. While their feelings are sincere, it is important to remember that veterans are defending us 365 days a year. The heroism that has been demonstrated time and again by veterans of the from the American Revolution to the global war on terror is sometimes unnoticed by those who enjoy the security that their sacrifice has provided. Not all veterans have seen combat, but all at one time had made the solemn promise to sacrifice their lives for this country if called upon to do so. Without the formidable strength of the veterans that have demonstrated it in war, Americans would never enjoy their daily freedoms. And with that and a win, thank you very much.
The next person that I would like to introduce is our town manager here in Fort Kent, Suzie Paradis. She is on her 6th year as Fort Kent's town manager. She's married to Dennis, and they have 3 children, Savannah, Stephanie, Eden, 2 son-in-laws, Kyle, Nate, and 2 grandchildren, Tilly and Wells. The military life runs deep in Suzie's family, as her father, Bernard Michaud, was a Vietnam War veteran. Her grandfather, Roland Michaud, served in the Korean War and World War II. And her brother, Jeffrey, served 4 years in the United States Army. As a child, Suzie was a poppy girl for the Madawaska American Legion Post 147. Please help me welcome Fort Kent Town Manager, Suzie Paradis.
Thank you, Leroy. Good morning on this fine, brisk day. Today we're here to honor our veterans who selflessly served for our freedom. 1918, 105 years ago, at the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, an agreement was made to end the fight of the First World War, a war to end all wars, universally recognized as a day of celebration for only those who served in that particular war, and as we know it today as Armistice Day. In 1954, a signed proclamation changing Armistice Day to Veterans Day, honoring all our veterans who served America in wars and those who defended democracy. I want to begin by personally thanking all those amongst us today who have been a part of the U.S. military and have and continue to serve our country. Whichever branch you served or years served, the commitment to service in the military was and is a brave and selfless act, one that has no guarantees of assignment or deployment, and in some cases, if to ever return home. Your service and sacrifices continue to keep us safe and free. Due to your service for this country, we can sleep peacefully at night. Military men and women risk much and accept those risks so we won't have to. While thousands of brave men and women have returned from war throughout time, there are still service members in harm's way around the world. The continued devastation throughout the world in the last year is very unsettling. I've had members of my family who were young men and sent off to fight wars. My father, a Vietnam War veteran, my grandfather who served in Korean War and World War II, and my brother with 4 years of service in the Army. The war stories shared by my father were not pleasant memories for him, and certainly not nice stories shared with us. The fear during attacks, the loneliness, and the losses experienced. That courage he and all that served make you all heroes in my eyes. But my dad will always be my #1 hero. I am so proud to have been his daughter. I believe if he were here today, he would sacrifice and give for his country again. Once you serve, you always serve. Sorry, paper stuck together. Aroostook County has some of the best representation of organizations for our veterans and military. Thank you to all Fort Kent and surrounding community veterans. You are some of the finest individuals and continue to serve for our freedom. I would also like to thank the Martin Klein American Legion Post 133 for all you do for our citizens and the community. Leroy McKenzie, thank you for organizing the flag-raising ceremony and all the work you continue to do. As a citizen of Fort Kent and as your town manager, you have my utmost respect. I am and will continue to be one of the strongest supporters of our veterans. Thank you for taking time to remember our heroes. They never gave up on us, and we can't give up on them. Let us walk tomorrow still honoring them. God bless you all, bless our veterans, and bless the United States of America. I will leave you with a quote from Elmer Davis. This nation will remain the land of the free only so long as it is the home of the brave. Thank you.
Everybody warming up? Our next speaker grew up just a few miles from here. He now represents us in the Maine House of Representatives. He has had a successful career in motorsports, winning the American Race Car Association National Championship with team owner Kenny Schrader in 2017. After stepping away from driving due to an injury, Austin moved into the business side of racing, where he owns and manages a company that runs race teams. Austin was inspired to help the military community by his uncle Larry, who bravely served in the Vietnam War. On several occasions, Austin has partnered with his friend Travis Mills, a quadruple amputee and a veteran advocate. The Travis Mills Foundation is a Maine-based organization dedicated to assisting post-9/11 recalibrated service members and their families. Those efforts have helped raise tens of thousands of dollars to go to families. And if you'll please help me welcome Representative Austin Theriault.
Good morning, everybody. Try to make this quick because I know it's really cold out, especially with the wind. Veterans Day is not merely a date on the calendar. It's a profound reminder of the sacrifices made from those who have worn the uniform in the name of freedom. As we reflect on the valor displayed by our veterans, let us not forget the families who stood by them. The unsung heroes on the home front. The commitment to service extends beyond the individual. It encompasses the resilience of families who endure long separations and cope with the challenges that come with the call of duty. Our veterans embody the spirit of selflessness, embodying the principle that freedom is not free. They have faced adversity with courage, demonstrating unwavering dedication to preserving the values that define our great nation. It is through their sacrifices that we enjoy the liberties and privileges that make America the beacon of hope around the world. Let us also acknowledge that the journey for our veterans does not end with their service. Many face unique challenges, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, when they return home. And that requires our understanding and support. It's a duty as a grateful nation to ensure that they receive the care and respect they deserve, not just today, but every day. Veterans Day serves as a call to action, prompting us to reflect on how we can contribute to the well-being of those who have given so much. It is an opportunity to bridge gaps, foster understanding, and create a society that honors the sacrifices of our veterans by providing them with opportunities and support they need to thrive. In conclusion, let us carry the spirit of Veterans Day beyond just the ceremony. Let us recognize the responsibility that comes with it. May we be inspired by the dedication of our veterans to build a future where their sacrifices are remembered, their service is honored, and the ideas for which they fought continue to shine brightly. Thank you to our veterans, past and present, for your service and sacrifice. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Trey Stewart, is serving in his fourth term in the Maine legislature after representing the people of House District 147, which encompasses most of Presque Isle, for 4 years. While in the House, he has served as the Assistant Republican Leader for the 129th Legislature, as the youngest legislative leader in the nation. Senator Stewart was born and raised in Aroostook County and graduated from Presque Isle High School in 2012. 2012? He graduated summa cum laude from the University of Maine in 2016. He was sworn into the Maine State Bar Association in October of 2022. He is a licensed real estate broker and owner of a small rental property business in the county. Senator Stewart is also an intelligence officer with the United States Navy Reserve. Please help me welcome Maine State Republican leader and U.S. Navy veteran Trey Stewart.
Good morning, and I'd like to start off first thanking Leroy first for the invitation to be here today, and certainly for all the work that's gone into making today a reality. I am very thrilled to see both the looks like the Cub Scouts and the Girl Scouts that are here today. I think that's so important to do, and appreciate all of the parents and volunteers who have gone into bringing them, including them in today's event. Veterans Day is the day we've all set aside to honor the brave men and women who have served and continue to serve our country. Generations of Americans have heroically sacrificed their time, their comfort, their safety, and for some, their very lives so that the rest of us can be free to pursue our version of the American dream, whatever that might be. Although it is human nature to put our own needs first, the men and women of our armed forces are the embodiment of duty and honor, serving selflessly all over the world out of love for our country and desire that their fellow Americans would live in freedom. This world could be very, very different had they not answered their call to serve our country. Veterans Day originally dates back to 1918, and for the sake of time, I know it's cold, and Suzie did a great job explaining the history there of Armistice Day as it originally was. But that led to an eventual breakdown that sparked World War II. And in that war, like so many from the greatest generation, my grandfather, on my father's side, volunteered in that fight. In fact, he was 16 years old and he lied about his age so that he could join the Navy. His ship was hit by a kamikaze in the South Pacific, where he was injured but survived. And growing up, he told me that President Truman actually saved his life by choosing to use the atomic bombs that would have prevented a very costly invasion of the island of Japan. He would go on to then volunteer for the Korean conflict in the Army before eventually returning home, going to law school, and settling back in the county with his family. My mother's father is a veteran of the Vietnam War, serving in the Army. He shared with me once when he was younger that he chose to go back there for another tour so that someone else didn't have to. I know so many families in the crowd today have similar stories in your families about veterans and their service. They inspire our next generations, like my brother and myself, to also volunteer for our nation's military. My brother now serves as a helicopter pilot in the Army, and I serve as a reservist in the Navy, carrying on these examples of service imprinted on us from generations past. As an all-volunteer force, our strength is dependent on more people raising their hands to serve. Sharing your stories of your service helps ensure the future of our military and our country will remain strong for generations to come. You know, this past summer, I had the privilege of attending Officer Basic School down in Newport, Rhode Island. One of the classes that stuck out to me there was history of naval and military history. And as a part of that, the commander that was teaching that class, the lesson to impart was that America is an away team. We send our folks into harm's way so that the people here can enjoy the freedoms and safety that they provide. And our people are dependent on that. But the only way that that's going to remain true is if more people raise their hand. And I think that the best way that any veteran can help to ensure the safety of America is preserved is to continue to share your stories of your service and your experience and pass that on to the next generation. As Ronald Reagan famously said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was like in the United States of America where men were free. Just one final note, and it shouldn't take events like the tragedy in Lewiston last month to remind us of how important it is to help those in need. And yes, certainly the government absolutely owes a duty to come through on the promises owed to our veterans. But I want to say too, particularly as we approach the holiday season, and that could be a very tough time for some folks. And so I would ask that you be your brothers and sisters keepers as we head into the holidays here and what can be a very challenging time. Check in on one another. And mental health is a very complicated thing. It's something that I think a lot of folks struggle with quietly. And sometimes just a simple conversation or asking somebody how they're doing can make all the difference in the world and hopefully help change some lives for the better. So take care of yourselves. Never be afraid to ask for help if you need it. And for those veterans here today, we thank you for answering the call, for raising your hand, and thank you for your service. Thank you, folks.
Our next speaker, sorry, my mouth is a little frozen. Our next speaker is a proud grandson of a Navy veteran and the nephew of a Marine Corps veteran. He is a fifth-generation logger from Allagash, serving his third consecutive term as president of the Maine Senate. He is the first person from the St. John Valley to serve as Senate president and the first person from Aroostook County to serve in this capacity since Governor John Reed in 1959. Well known for his leading the charge to save Maine veterans' homes, he was recently named Maine American Legion's 2023 Legislator of the Year for his commitment to veterans, active duty service members, and military families. Please help me welcome Maine Senate President Troy Jackson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you, Leroy. I'm going to be real quick. It's a strange world right now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to be concerned about. And right here in Maine, I read an article this morning about some of our World War II veterans talking about what's going on here in Maine with some of the people that espouse Nazi propaganda and things like that. I think that's really important that we recognize that because, to me, Veterans Day is what people fought for to make sure we didn't have to deal with here in the United States.
mean, this is a free country, and it is because of people like the veterans, because of people like Congressman Golden that stood up and fought bravely to give people like me and others in the legislature the opportunity to debate issues and not have any fear that you would be carted off, like in some countries, because they didn't agree with your opinions. And that's something I think about every time that we're in the legislature, how, you know, we really are in a free country, that we can be different, we can have different ideals, and you don't have to worry about that. And you'll never know how much I understand. That's because of you veterans that gave me that right, gave my family that right, gave my community, my state, my country, and it is a big deal, and I will always do whatever I can to help support you because of that, because it means a lot to me and the people I care about. So thank you for allowing us to be here today. We appreciate all that you do.
How you doing? There you go. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys. 89's my favorite. Don't say anything to everybody else. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yep.
All right, our next speaker, Jared Golden, represents the 2nd District, Maine in the United States Congress, where he serves on the Small Business Committee and the Armed Services Committee. He grew up in Leeds, a small town in Androscoggin County. After enlisting as an infantry and in the Marines, Golden deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq before returning home to Maine. Congressman Golden currently lives in Lewiston with his wife Isabel and their family. Please help me welcome Congressman and Marine veteran Jared Golden.
Good afternoon. The good thing about Veterans Day in Maine for those of us who are vets is we get to physically revisit a little bit of our service in some of the colder days that we had to put up with. So it seems like it's always this way. Of course, I want to thank the town for having this, the school for hosting it, and our scouts and cubs and Girl Scouts for doing this flag raising ceremony. And of course, thanks to Leroy and the American Legion as well for organizing this. But how many years now?
A few of them.
Yeah, I remember one a few years back anyway, but it's a great event and I really appreciate it. And thanks as well to all my colleagues from the State House for being here today to recognize our vets. We gathered today to honor our nation's veterans with a flag-raising ceremony. As we stand momentarily, cover our hearts, and salute our flag, let us hold in our hearts a special place for the veterans we are blessed to have in our lives. By honoring the flag today and recommitting ourselves to a life of service to the nation, to our community, and to our fellow Americans, we offer the most genuine thank you possible to all veterans. To my fellow veterans, we are forever linked by a common bond of service to our country, embodied by the motto, E pluribus unum, out of many one. In our country's darkest moments, let us be bound by confidence and strength in knowing that in every community, in every state, across the entire country, there are veterans who can be counted on to fulfill whatever duty is necessary for the greater good. The spirit of service and sacrifice lives on inside every veteran who strives to live a better life day in and day out with the knowledge of how precious every extra moment is, having borne witness to the final moments of the men and women who gave their lives so that we might go on living ours to the very fullest. Please join me in a short prayer. When across the heart deep waves of sorrow break, as on a dry and barren shore, when hope glistens with no bright tomorrow, and the storm seems sweeping evermore, who the aching void within shall fill? Who shall whisper of a peace abiding in each surging billow calmly still? Only he whose wounded heart was broken with the bitter cross and thorny crown, who his life for us laid meekly down. Blessed Healer, all our burdens lighten. Give us peace, thine own sweet peace we pray. Keep us near thee till the morn shall brighten and the mists and shadows flee away. God bless you all. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and have the Boy Scouts come back up to receive the American flag from Congressman Gold. Almost done, I promise. Our final speaker is a U.S. Navy veteran who was a radioman ship supervisor that operated Morse code and teletype for ship's communication. He is a 40-plus year member of the American Legion, as well as a 36-year member of the Department of Justice, Immigration and Naturalization Service. Please help me welcome American Legion National Executive Committeeman Lloyd Woods.
I've never attended one of these ceremonies, whether it be here or in Caribou, where the wind wasn't blowing, and it wasn't 40 below zero, and I see Leroy made one good today. And it's my privilege to read a letter from U.S. Senator Angus King Jr., dated today. Friends, in 1918, members of the Allied forces and Central Powers laid down their arms to mark the end of the Great War, World War I. While victory came at a tremendous cost, it was a historic triumph of freedom over the forces of tyranny. Originally known as Armistice Day, November 11th became the date each year for us as a country to remember and honor the over 9 million lives and 116,000 American lives that were lost in that terrible conflict. Following World War II, our annual remembrance was expanded to honor all who served and became known as Veterans Day. Those who returned home, those who are still missing, and those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Our veterans and their families represent the very best of what this country has to offer, and I am deeply thankful for their selfless service. In Maine, over 10% of our citizens have served in the armed forces. This makes Maine one of the highest-ranking states in terms of veterans per capita, a fact that should instill tremendous pride and a sense of responsibility in every one of us. As we recognize our veterans today, together we must ensure that their service continues to be honored into the future. Joining the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee this Congress has allowed me to better ensure the voices of Maine veterans are heard and that our veterans receive the proper support. After observing the American troops defend Baltimore Harbor from the British Navy during the War of 1812, Francis Scott Key put pen to paper and created our national anthem. It is telling that he chose to write the last lines of this first stanza in the form of a question. I quote, "Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and home of the brave," unquote. He did so, I believe, to illustrate that the United States can only be the land of the free if it is also the home of the brave. Without brave men and women committed to protecting our country, we could enjoy the many freedoms we hold dear. Today, we commit ourselves to celebrating these men and women
and honoring their service to our country. It is my privilege to honor the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, guardians, and sentinels who served our nation. Let us join hands in a common purpose of serving these veterans as they have served us. They and their families represent the best of America. Sincerely, Agnes S. King, Jr., United States Senator. Thank you.
All right, now let's get to the fun part. Everybody's got a flag, right? Let's create our own field of flags by taking the flag that you all have and placing it in the grass on either side of the podium in honor of a veteran that you can think of. So let's do that. It'll get your blood flowing a little bit too.
The United States Congress officially recognized the end of World War I when it passed a concurrent resolution on June 4, 1926, with these words. Whereas the 11th of November, 1918, marked the cessation of the most destructive, sanguinary, and far-reaching war in human annals and the resumption by the people of the United States of peaceful relations with other nations, which we hope may never again be severed. And whereas it is fitting that the recurring anniversary of this date should be commemorated with thanksgiving and prayer and exercises designed to perpetuate peace through goodwill and mutual understanding between nations. And whereas the legislatures of 27 of our states have already declared November 11th to be a legal holiday, therefore be it resolved by the Senate, the House of Representatives concurring, that the President of the United States is requested to issue a proclamation calling upon the officials to display the flag of the United States on all government buildings on November 11 and inviting the people of the United States to observe the day in schools and churches or other suitable places with appropriate ceremonies of friendly relations with all other peoples. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. At this time, I'd like to call up Boy Scout Troop 189 for the changing of the Maine and U.S. flags.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I'd like to call up Congressman Jared Golden and American Legion Department Commander Al McKay. Now, City Guard.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
At this time, I'd like to use this opportunity to thank everyone for coming out to this event. I'd also like to thank some local businesses who graciously donated to make this event possible. Valley Motors, Mike & Sons, Red Dovel Roast Coffee, McDonald's, Pelletiers Florist, and for the Fort Kent Elementary School for allowing us the facility to put this event on. I told you a while ago when I introduced all the guests that were here that I was probably going to forget one or two. So Matt, I apologize. Thank you for representing the Maine State Police today. And if I forgot anybody else, just send me an email and I'll apologize. Without further ado, I'd like to thank every one of you for being here today and remind you that after you leave here, Rock's Diner will be putting a spaghetti meal together. So if you want to warm up with some nice homemade spaghetti, that's where to boot. Sorry, my mouth is froze. Thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful Veterans Day.